Kevin Stefanski didn't mention Shedeur Sanders once. Not during interviews. Not during strategy sessions. Not even as the rookie quarterback delivered throw after throw to Jeudy with almost effortless control. That silence is growing louder, especially as Sanders' performance makes it increasingly difficult to justify. At this point, the disconnect isn't just about quarterback depth, it's about institutional denial. While Sanders steps up and executes like a pro, the coaching staff's unwillingness to acknowledge his rise is starting to reflect a broader problem. Leadership that's out of sync with the team's reality. And that reality is shifting fast. Sanders' emergence is no longer a feel-good subplot. It's the central question of Cleveland's season.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Gabriel's shakiness, combined with Stefanski's indecision, is eroding confidence from the inside out. In contrast, Sanders brings clarity, clear reads, calm execution, and a locker room ready to follow. The Browns don't have a decision to make down the line. They have a decision they're already late making. Haters stunned? That doesn't even begin to cover it. What Shedeur Sanders did at Browns practice wasn't just impressive, it was disruptive. Disruptive to the narrative, disruptive to the depth chart, and disruptive to a coaching staff still pretending like nothing is happening. He was throwing absolute missiles to Jeudy over and over again with the kind of rhythm and chemistry you expect from a seasoned NFL duo, not a rookie and a new teammate still getting reps. The throws were deep, clean, accurate, and full of confidence. No hesitation. No panic. Just sheer execution. It wasn't a one-off play or a good day, it was a statement. And that statement is making a lot of people very uncomfortable. Let's be real about this. The Cleveland Browns have been a mess at the quarterback position for years. They've gone through the carousel. They've made the desperate trades. They've hit the reset button so many times that nobody really knows what the plan is anymore. And now they've got a quarterback right in front of them who's showing leadership, control, and production, and they won't even say his name. Kevin Stefanski has danced around it for weeks. Reporters have asked. Fans have screamed. Teammates are quietly shifting their body language. And Stefanski? Still talking in circles about evaluating the room. What room? The one where Shedeur is clearly outplaying Dylan Gabriel on a daily basis? Gabriel's struggles aren't just obvious, they're consistent. He's not progressing. He's not commanding. And most importantly, he's not leading. The offense looks flat when he's at the helm. The rhythm disappears. The receivers stop separating. The spark dies. Meanwhile, Sanders comes in and it's like someone hit the reset button. The tempo picks up. The ball comes out fast. Jeudy looks alive. The line tightens up. The offense looks functional. And for a team like Cleveland that's been dying for functionality at quarterback, that should be all the evidence they need. But it's not. Or at least it hasn't been. Because instead of embracing what's clearly happening in front of them, the coaching staff continues to downplay it or worse, ignore it. And the longer they do that, the worse it looks, not just to fans but inside the building. Because here's the part no one wants to say out loud. This doesn't feel like an evaluation period anymore. Feels like favoritism. It feels like a coaching staff trying to save face over past decisions. Gabriel has been given every chance, every rep, every public endorsement, and he hasn't delivered. Shedeur, on the other hand, has had to work through injuries, scrutiny, and being quietly shut out of the QB conversation. Yet when he finally gets reps, he shows leadership, maturity, and results. So why is he still being treated like a project? There's a leadership gap in this franchise, and Sanders is filling it whether the staff acknowledges him or not. He's doing it with discipline. He's doing it with positivity. He's doing it by focusing on growth while the system around him stalls. This isn't about hype, it's about consistency. And that consistency is starting to force people's hands. You've got a quarterback who's doing everything right. He's rising under pressure. He's winning the respect of the locker room. And most importantly, he's producing. Meanwhile, the guy ahead of him on the chart continues to underwhelm, and yet nothing changes. It's becoming a credibility problem. Not just for Stefanski. For the entire leadership structure. Because this team isn't just losing games, it's losing faith. You can't keep preaching accountability and best man plays when the guy clearly outperforming the starter isn't even in the conversation. It's already having an effect. You can feel the tension in pressers. You can sense the frustration in fan spaces. You can see it in the energy on the field. When your team knows who the better quarterback is and sees him being ignored, they don't forget that. They don't move on from it. And for a team like the Browns, that kind of disconnect is the difference between competing and collapsing. This isn't about overreacting to one practice. It's about recognizing a pattern. Sanders hasn't just had one good day. He's had several. He's stacked reps, he's built chemistry, and he's stayed locked in even as the coaching staff acts like he doesn't exist. That's the kind of professionalism that should be rewarded. But in Cleveland, it's being quietly punished. And for what? Because someone doesn't want to admit they were wrong about Gabriel? Because they're afraid of making a quarterback switch midstream? Because they think pushing a talented rookie too fast might upset the fragile plan they won't even publicly define? Whatever the reason, it's not football. Because from a football standpoint, the answer couldn't be more obvious. Sanders has earned it. He's earned the reps, he's earned the voice. He's earned the chance to lead. But the staff keeps running from that reality, and at some point that kind of denial becomes a choice. Choice to lose. A choice to suppress growth. A choice to let politics get in the way of performance. And if that choice continues, they're going to lose more than just games. They're going to lose the locker room. They're going to lose fan trust. They're going to lose the credibility they've barely managed to hold onto these past few years. Because eventually people stop asking why isn't he starting, and start asking why are these people still coaching? Shedeur Sanders is the most important development happening inside the Browns organization right now. Not because of his name, not because of his background, but because of what he's actually doing on the field. In practices, under pressure, against NFL defenses, in real time. He's showing growth. He's showing leadership. He's showing a level of readiness that doesn't just come from talent. It comes from experience, discipline, and maturity. And he's doing it while getting none of the support that usually accompanies a player on the rise. That kind of resilience doesn't fade. It builds. And when it reaches a certain point, it explodes. That's where we are now. The tipping point. Where performance can no longer be ignored, where silence becomes complicit, and where the next move will define more than just the season. It'll define the direction of the franchise. Do they finally embrace the quarterback who's delivering? Or do they double down on the plan that's falling apart? We'll see. Shedeur, but what's clear is this: Shedeur Sanders has arrived. And the Browns are running out of time to catch up. So what do you think? Should the Browns stop delaying the inevitable? Should Shedeur take the reins before this season slips even further? Drop your thoughts below, hit like if you're done waiting for the obvious to happen, and subscribe to stay locked in, because whether they admit it or not, the Shedeur Sanders era is knocking at the door. There's no way around it now. The Browns are out of excuses. Shedeur Sanders has done everything you could possibly ask of a rookie quarterback trying to earn his place. And not just earn reps, or develop behind the scenes. No. He's flat out outperformed the competition. In front of teammates. In front of media. In front of coaches who, bafflingly, still won't acknowledge what everyone else already knew. It's becoming a case study in what not to do when you've got something special brewing. This latest practice didn't just add fuel to the fire, it burned the old quarterback narrative to the ground. You don't drop back and rip NFL-level dimes to Jeudy in full stride and not raise questions. You don't dominate reps in rhythm, under pressure, in a controlled practice setting designed to test timing and composure, and then get ignored the next day like nothing happened. Unless you're in Cleveland. Unless you're dealing with a team whose leadership would rather cling to a flawed process than adapt to a rising reality. And let's be real, the problem isn't Shedeur. It's not even Gabriel. The problem is the wall of silence surrounding a quarterback battle that's already been decided by performance, but not by the people in charge. Dillon Gabriel is still getting the title of starter. But what exactly has he done to keep that title? Because while Shedeur's been delivering clean, confident reps with poise, Gabriel has been stuck in a cycle of misreads, shaky mechanics, and missed opportunities. The gap is wide. And it's growing. But every time the spotlight turns to Sanders, the coaching staff redirects the conversation. We like the room. Everyone's competing. We're confident in our process. The process? What process? Because what we're watching doesn't look like a merit-based evaluation. It looks like a protection plan. And that protection is for a system that can't afford to admit it's already being outgrown. The Browns are at a crossroads and they know it. They can see the pressure mounting from every side, players, fans, media, even internal sources who are starting to push the narrative forward. The calls for change aren't just louder, they're sharper. This isn't a fan base asking for a flashy switch just for the sake of it. This is a fan base watching real progress get buried under stubborn leadership. And nothing kills momentum faster than that. Because when a team sees their most composed, most consistent, and most ready quarterback get overlooked week after week, It doesn't just affect the quarterback room, it sends shockwaves through the entire locker room. What does it say to the offensive line? To the receivers who light up when Shedeur's under center? To the young players who are being told, just keep your head down and work hard, but then watch the guy doing exactly that get iced out? It's not just confusing. It's demoralizing. And the longer it continues, the more it erodes trust in the leadership of the franchise. Stefanski's unwillingness to face the truth head-on is becoming more than a coaching blind spot. It's becoming a liability. Because this isn't a rebuilding year where you're protecting a fragile roster. This is a team with pieces, with talent, with enough structure that, with the right quarterback, they could actually turn a corner. But the Browns don't need just a quarterback. They need a leader. Someone who brings stability and maturity to a locker room that's been through more than its share of chaos. Someone who can elevate others, not just because of their arm but because of their demeanor, their confidence, and their ability to perform when it matters. That's what Shedeur Sanders is giving them. And they're leaving it on the shelf. And let's not pretend this is a story without consequences. Because the longer this goes unresolved, the bigger the fallout becomes. Fans are already fed up. They're watching practice footage and wondering what exactly Stefanski is seeing that no one else is. And if that disconnect grows any wider, it'll start affecting more than game day, it'll affect the Browns' entire future direction. Because quarterbacks like Shedeur don't come around often. Talented, yes, but also resilient, mentally prepared, and capable of handling the weight of expectation without crumbling under it. That's rare. And it's exactly what this franchise has been lacking for years. So when you finally get a glimpse of it and you still choose to ignore it, that's not just a missed opportunity. That's failure. There's a reason this narrative keeps gaining traction, because it's being backed up by everything that matters. Performance, attitude, resilience. And meanwhile, the only thing keeping Shedeur from getting a real opportunity is the very system that's supposed to reward those things. That's the irony. He's not asking for a shortcut. He's not demanding headlines. He's doing the work, delivering results, letting his play speak. And still, the Browns are acting like this is all happening in a vacuum they can control with silence. But silence doesn't win games. And it doesn't keep locker rooms together. The question is no longer if Shedeur should start, it's how much longer the Browns can hold off the inevitable. Because this isn't going away. This isn't a social media moment or a short-term flash. This is a quarterback slowly, steadily proving that he's the best option on the roster. And the longer they keep him on the sideline, the more damage they do to everything they claim to be building. Because eventually, every player in that locker room will start asking themselves, if performance doesn't matter, what does? And that's a question no coach ever wants floating around their team. The Browns have a decision to make. Not next month. Not sometime down the road. No. They can either continue pretending the situation is under control, or they can accept what's already become reality. Shedeur Sanders is the leader this team has been waiting. He's been through the fire. He's handled the critics. He's grown through injury. He's absorbed the weight of the spotlight and come out stronger. He's delivered, on the field, in practice, in the locker room. And now he's done waiting. So the question is no longer about readiness. It's about recognition. Will the Browns finally admit they've got something special on their hands? Or will they keep running from it until it's too late? Because this moment, this one right here, is the kind that defines careers. Not just for quarterbacks. For coaches. For GMs. For organizations that either step up and evolve or fall back and collapse under their own denial. At this point, the only thing more consistent than Shedeur Sanders' practice dominance is the Browns' refusal to talk about it. He's shown up, day after day, operating like a professional, throwing like a starter, and carrying himself like a leader. You'd think that would be enough. For most teams, it would be. For most coaches, a young quarterback stepping into his own, delivering NFL-level throws, reading defenses, staying composed under pressure, that would light up the quarterback room and start real conversations. But not in Cleveland. In Cleveland, those moments get ignored. Scrubbed from press conferences. Dismissed in post-practice reports. No mention of what everyone saw. No breakdown of those reps to Jeudy. No acknowledgement of the impact Sanders is having, not just on the field but on the guys around him. And that silence? It's louder than ever. Because this isn't some fan fantasy or Twitter campaign. It's real. It's unfolding in real time. And the people inside the building know it. You don't have to leak quotes to sense the shift. The tension is already there. And when leadership pretends not to see what's happening, the trust breaks. This isn't just a Shedeur Sanders problem. This is a Browns problem. A culture problem. A leadership problem. A transparency problem. Shedeur's not trying to skip steps. He's not going around anyone. He's doing what the system demands: prove it, deliver, show growth, handle adversity, lead with maturity, be prepared when your number is called. Well, he has proved it. And yet somehow the system still refuses to call his number. The Browns coaching staff has dug themselves into a hole. By ignoring Shedeur's rise, they've created a narrative they now feel boxed in by. If they acknowledge him now, it looks like they were asleep at the wheel. If they continue to ignore him, they risk blowing up their locker room and alienating a fan base that's been burned too many times by politics over performance. They've made it harder on themselves than it ever needed to be. This isn't a QB room filled with elite starters. There's no franchise guy set in stone. Gabriel has been fine at best, but let's not pretend he's untouchable. He's shown flashes, sure, but no fire, no control, no real command of the offense when things break down. And that's been the story since day one. He's hesitant, overthinks throws, gets rattled when the play breaks down. The offense looks like it's running on fumes when he's out there. And it's not just fans who notice, it's the guys lining up with him. Then Sanders comes in and the whole atmosphere shifts. It's hard to describe it unless you're watching it live. The throws come out crisp. The tempo settles. The playmakers trust him. There's a calm that drops over the offense, because the quarterback is calm. He's not trying to do too much. He's just doing his job. Smooth, focused, in control. And when he connects with Jeudy, it's not a gamble, it's a plan. Executed to perfection. Multiple times. That chemistry didn't come from hype. That came from work, timing, trust. The very things Cleveland has been lacking on offense for years. But instead of building on that momentum, the Browns are burying it. And the locker room feels it. Because at the end of the day, players don't follow titles. They follow production. They follow leadership. And Shedeur, whether he's been handed the role or not, is already stepping into that space. He's earning respect through his actions. Through the way he bounces back from criticism. Through how he carries himself after a bad play. Through how he lifts teammates during every rep. That's leadership. That's what wins you games in December. But none of that matters if the coaching staff continues to live in denial. If they keep clinging to depth charts and old decisions instead of evolving with what's right in front of them. And that's where the Browns' biggest weakness has been exposed. It's not the roster. It's not the talent. It's how they manage it. The longer this quarterback situation drags out, the more people are going to question what the actual vision is for this team. Because if it's not about performance, if it's not about consistency, if it's not about putting the best guy under center, then what is it about? At this point, the Browns aren't just risking losses, they're risking legitimacy. You can't sell fans on growth when you're ignoring it in real time. You can't preach development when the guy who's developing the fastest isn't even being talked about. And you can't say you're building a new culture when the most professional, disciplined, mentally tough player on the roster is being treated like a footnote. And the pressure? It's only growing. Because this is no longer a storyline confined to training camp. This is seeping into every layer of the organization. You can hear it in the locker room. You can feel it in interviews. And you can see it in every throw. Sanders makes that should have been made in a game weeks ago. The narrative has already shifted. And the Browns are the only ones still pretending they can control it. The fan base sees the writing on the wall. And they're not going to sit quietly while the team fumbles the opportunity to finally get the quarterback position right. Sanders doesn't need to be handed anything. He doesn't need to be protected or babied. He's already proven he can take a hit, make a play, and stay locked in. What he needs, what he's earned, is a chance. And if the Browns can't see that, then it's not Shedeur's development that's in question, it's theirs. They've got a player who's built for this moment. Not in 2 years. Not at some arbitrary readiness date. No. And if they're too slow to respond, they'll be watching him break out somewhere else while they sit in another season of regret. This is the NFL. You don't bench energy. You don't ignore production. You don't bury leadership. And you definitely don't silence the quarterback that's changing your team's entire dynamic. You lean into it. You make the move. You stop hiding. Because Shedeur Sanders is ready. And the question now is, will the Browns finally be brave enough to act like it? At this point, the Browns don't just have a quarterback controversy, they have a credibility crisis. Because when a player like Shedeur Sanders puts in the work, delivers in practice, and clearly lifts the energy of the offense, and the response is radio silence from the coaching staff, it sends a message. And not the kind that builds a winning culture. The message it sends is, we don't reward performance, we protect our decisions. And that's a dangerous line to cross in the NFL. Shedeur has already done more with fewer reps than Gabriel has with every opportunity handed to him. Gabriel was given the runway, the starter label, the support of the staff, and still it's looked uninspired. The reads are slow. The playmaking is non-existent. The leadership is missing. He's not sinking the team, but he's certainly not elevating it either. Shedeur, on the other hand, is elevating everything. The ball placement, the pacing, the belief. When he's on the field, the offense feels like it belongs in this league. And for a franchise as starved for hope as Cleveland, that should be everything. But instead, the coaches are playing the waiting game. Waiting for what? For Gabriel to prove he deserves the job? For Sanders to somehow regress just to justify a decision already made? It's backwards. And the longer they hold out, the more it looks like pride is calling the plays. Shedeur isn't lobbying for headlines. He's not demanding the spotlight. He's earning it the old-fashioned way: execution, resilience, and consistency. He's done everything teams ask of young quarterbacks. And he's done it with a level of maturity that should be respected, not ignored. At a time when the Browns desperately need a spark, the guy lighting the fire is standing on the sideline. And if they don't give him the opportunity he's earned, they're not just stalling progress, they're sending a clear message to every player on that field. That performance might not matter. And once that belief settles into a locker room, it's hard to shake. That's how trust erodes. That's how seasons unravel. That's how franchises stay stuck. This could have been a turning point, a shift, a chance to hand the reins to someone who's already proven he can handle the pressure. But if they keep pretending this isn't happening, they're going to let it pass them by. And once it's gone, so is the moment. Drop a comment below. Should Shedeur start now, or has the staff already lost too much ground? Smash that like button if you're done with the silence and ready for accountability. And make sure to subscribe. We'll be here every step of the way as this thing unfolds, because one way or another, Cleveland's about to make a decision they can't walk back. And it starts with the quarterback they won't talk about, but can't ignore.